This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the government doing its part to renew investor confidence in Grand Bahama. The nation's leader, while on Grand Bahama this past weekend, outlined a number of multi-million-dollar projects which he says will revitalize this island's economy and address the issue of joblessness here in the nation's second city. Joan Davis-Roll reports.
We're talking about making, in the immediate future, a major economic intervention in Freeport and in the island of Grand Bahama.
In an exclusive interview with ZNS News, the nation's leader, the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, while on Grand Bahama attending a major fundraising event, paused to give an update on negotiations involving several substantial projects earmarked for this northern island. A number of these projects, according to the Prime Minister, are historic in nature and will employ hundreds.
We are finalizing our approach to the mining of aragonite. Not sand, but aragonite. And aragonite appears to be a very valuable component to making things. And we want to put in place a special regime. We are advised a significant number of Bahamians will be employed. Two of the proposals to us have calculated that they should headquarter their businesses in Grand Bahama. And so I'm excited about that possibility. Because we have that in progress, I will wait for it to happen, but Grand Bahama could also look forward to that because the people are very substantial business persons who have now decided in a big way that they want to take advantage of that industry. And the government has taken the view that we cannot have an industry develop without having the research confirm that it's sustainable, meaning it has no permanent damage, it's renewable, and most certainly that we are able to retain the value in it.
The nation's leader also disclosed that all principals are committed as a new cruise port is about to come to fruition.
We are finalizing the position on a new port in Grand Bahama that involves Hutchison as well as the government of the Bahamas and Carnival Cruise Lines. We expect in the not too distant future to be able to bring good news to Grand Bahama of a new destination being created here. And that will be a wonderful development, we believe. We are finalizing with MSC. We have an application, a heads of agreement that we're finalizing with Mediterranean Shipping, who are minority shareholders of the container port. They have cruise ships that are rolling offline. They wanted a destination, an island destination within the Bahamas. We think we have settled which island that should be. They have indicated that they will make a substantial development investment in being able to create jobs on that island, create a source of entertainment for people on that island. And so we're looking forward to that development starting and creating more jobs.
Investor confidence in Grand Bahama, the Prime Minister notes, is growing. As the island's tourism economy is set to further expand, Bahamians will also benefit. Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, Grand Bahama gaining ground in the film industry as a $3 million film is expected to be partially produced on this island. The movie is based on a book written by a Bahamian now living abroad. That book, called Generation Text, was officially launched on Grand Bahama on Friday. It is already creating a big buzz, and it's the third movie to ever be endorsed by the United Nations. Generation Text, the book, was officially launched on Grand Bahama this past Friday, and already plans are underway to produce a movie that sends a strong message about the dangers of texting and driving. Bahamian Mario Steele, along with his brothers, wrote the book, and although they no longer live in the Bahamas, he plans to expose this island to the world through this film.
We're looking at Grand Bahama as a hub to do a lot more movies, religious tourism. Mark and I, this is Mark's first time here. So when he came here, he was like, oh my God, we could do so much stuff here. So we're looking at bringing in faith-based film festivals and other things here. But we hope that our book, if we don't save 1 million, if we save one life, we know our job is done.
The movie has already attracted Mr. Mark Lipsky, well-known Hollywood producer, who has produced movies like Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop, and many others. He is excited about working on this film, and although this is his first trip to Grand Bahama, more films could be shot on this island.
So can you imagine where this movie is going to go? Do you imagine where the Bahamas are going to go? Can you imagine where yourself can go right now through the United Nations? And the content of all of these nations, the exposure that you're going to get.
The book and movie will focus on love, acceptance, and forgiveness as it tackles the possible consequences of texting and driving. Bahamian talent is already being used as a couple performed the soundtrack for the upcoming movie.
I've seen some of the island that I think would be ideal to film a number of movies that we have in progress, in addition to Generation Text, including a movie called Spring Break Chain Gang, another movie called Our Little Secret.
Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hannah Martin also attended the launch.
It mostly affects young males, in our country anyway. Young men die as a result of traffic accidents. And so we have to look now to more and more interventions. We have to get statistics to see how this is impacting fatalities and serious injuries on our streets, and then we have to devise interventions through public education and maybe even possibly legislation.
Minister of Tourism Obi Wolshcombe commended Steele on the movie that sends such a powerful message and pledges his ministry's support.
We're going to cause this to happen because we know what it means. And it's so interesting because Grand Bahama was selected by me when I became minister the first time to be the film capital of the Bahamas. Now, isn't that so interesting? And that is why Pirates of the Caribbean in 2005 shot here in Grand Bahama. It's exactly the point. So as you talk about coming full circle, nothing before it's time. Now is the time.
Well, Grand Bahama experiencing an island-wide blackout on Saturday. The outage lasting more than 3 hours in some areas. Reports reaching our newsroom say the interruption occurred around 3:45 p.m. when a problem developed at the generating facility on Peel Street. Now, power officials have confirmed that electricity was restored to some consumers around 5:28 p.m. and all remaining customers were back around 6:15 with the exception of those from High Rock to East End. Now, service in the eastern area was restored by 7 p.m. Power officials say they are still investigating the cause of that generation failure. And as the Grand Bahama Power Company seek a rate adjustment from its regulator, the Grand Bahama Port Authority, a local organization is working hard to ensure that this does not happen. Tonight, the Coalition of Concerned Citizens announced a town meeting scheduled for next Monday, and they are calling on all Grand Bahamians to attend.
By the power company own words, they have confirmed that they are increasing the base rate of electricity.
And that's if the Grand Bahama Power Company's request is approved by its regulator, the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Convener of the coalition, Eddie Victor, says Grand Bahamians cannot let that happen, as many are already struggling to pay their power bill. The organization is now planning a town meeting for residents to voice their concerns.
This town meeting is very vital. It's a town meeting that information will be shared. We will be inviting the regulators and the Grand Bahama Power Company Emira to make presentations at this public forum. When it comes to the decision of whether or not to increase the base rate, it's imperative that the regulator hears from the public.
Area Vice President of the BUT, Quentin LaRota, says thanks but no thanks to the power company, as he says they have decreased the surcharge but now wants to increase the base rate. Member of the coalition, Darren Brooks, says now is the time for Grand Bahamians to speak out.
We can't fall for that kind of game. I think what the power company should consider is to increase the amount of customers they have by reducing the rates More people could turn on their light, could afford to pay light bill, and they could make up for some of their profit margin in that way by increasing the customer base. And so I think we should have the opposite. We should have a rate reduction to increase those people who to encourage those people who power off, to turn the power back on, and to get some new people access to power.
Makes no sense just to sit on the side and complain. Something has to be done, and the Coalition of Concerned Citizens is asking everybody from East End to West End to come out and support this.
And then there's the personal side to the saga. Mark Clark says he had to move his father in with him because the bills were just too much for him to bear.
I'm concerned simply because I know my dad and a lot of his friends who are senior citizens, 75 and older. I was in the bank just this morning, got a check from the hotel for him, and people in there trying to figure out what they can do with their $150 because the power bill gotta pay, they gotta buy something to eat, and it's outrageous.
Now, power officials maintain that the rate restructuring plan will help more than 80% of all consumers avoid an increase in the cost of electricity, and 60% will see a 4.5% decrease in costs as a result of this plan. In news from the crime beat, police on Grand Bahama making 2 arrests in connection with a sizable drug seizure. Police tell us that around 1:30 this afternoon, officers were in the area of Midshipman Road in Lucaya when they intercepted a vehicle. Now, the 2 male occupants and the vehicle were searched, and a stash of suspected cocaine was found on the inside of the vehicle. Both men, residents of Freeport, were arrested. The cocaine weighing some 51 pounds and carrying a street value of $500,000. Now, about an hour later, officers conducted a search warrant at the residence of one of the suspects in South Bahama. That's where they found 3 clear plastic packages of suspected marijuana on the inside of the house of a shed. An adult Bahamian female was arrested as well. The drugs weighing some 9 pounds with an estimated street value of $9,000. And in the second incident, around 2:15 this afternoon, police on duty at the domestic terminal at the Grand Bahama International Airport were alerted by aircraft personnel to a suspicious box in the area. The box was opened and searched, and an estimated 3 pounds of suspected marijuana was discovered on the inside. No one was arrested, and the estimated street value of those drugs were $3,000. Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, continues right after this.